As more people living in this period of time live at a fast speed, food industry is making enormous amounts of profits from manipulating this social trend in an improper way. So-called junk foods have been invented by using the public habits of eating fast and leaving fast, which spread worldwide in such a blink of time. It provided people a huge convenience and frugality of time for people. However, it also resulted in inestimable individual, social, and economical drawbacks. Junk food sold in restaurants and streets destroyed the health of millions, causing disease like obesity, hypertension, and stroke. Our team believes that ways to improve this situation is to penalize the food industry for promoting unhealthy habits and increase awareness of food products.
It has become a world where we can easily find food to eat, and the development of food industry has given us the convenience. However, the industry is being attacked recently by some groups who claim that the industry has a problem with obesity of the world. Point blank, it is such a blasphemy that the food industry would get punished by the unhealthy contents in their foods. The food industry has no reason to be tackled upon their quality of foods. As it is the democratic societies that we live in, it is mainly the consumer's responsibility to select which food they will eat. Well, we need to also consider that the food industries had their efforts to serve us a splendid taste to satisfy our five senses. It is being asked to pay both in economic and the area of service, which is truly burdensome and gives menace to the industry. It will be notified later about the specific details why the food industry should not be penalized. Also, we will be kind enough to roll down countering your text one by one.
Okay, Team 2, present your first position.
Okay. To begin with, companies are making fool of their customers by providing inadequate information about the ingredients of a certain product. For example, McDonald's, one of the biggest food companies existing, started the ingredients of McNugget as a chicken, but it is actually made up of chicken skins, bones, and carcasses. In this picture, this pink creamy mixture is the meat, which will soon turn into hundreds of patties. This is the reality of the food we believe to be made up of fresh chicken. Like this, there are many products from various companies that do not provide correct information about their ingredients.
Okay. Team 8, would you like to make a rebuttal to what Team 2 said?
Our team has also researched about this problem, about the McDonald's lawsuit and the fact that McDonald's lost for the first time in the early 2000s. Due to this, McDonald's made a new direction to their food promoting. From this, they made diet programs, exercising programs to show the children and the children's parents that eating too much fat or sugar would affect badly to the health. And the industry says that the consumers have the right to choose their products, and they would wish the consumers to consume the more healthier products, and due to and more other fast food chains like Coca-Cola are supporting this, sponsoring this program, and for the fast food chain Subway, they are using organic meat, organic vegetables, organic fruit for almost all of their food. So this is that was the past, but this is the present.
I have rebuttal. Okay. You said something about McDonald's providing the education and program that are said to be helping people suffering from diseases, got them from eating these foods, but that program, those programs or educations are not really heard of. Like, it's not prevalent, because 1/4, according to the reliable resource I found, is 1/4 of the entire American citizens is actually suffering from diseases like, high blood pressure, obesity. And if that program or education that you mentioned is prevalent and widely used by people, it wouldn't really, bring this result in this consequence. That's my rebuttal.
Also, you said that it is consumers' responsibility to choose the food they eat, and that they should search for more healthier foods. Then you're just rebutting yourself, because you're saying that the McDonald's foods and those are really unhealthy, so they should find another food that they should, which are very healthy.
May I repeat this?
If you like, or you can make another point so they can make a rebuttal to your argument.
Well, as our delegate suggested about the previous act in USA about the McDonald's, the delegate should have clearly understood what the act was. And it means that in the past, the McDonald's have made such a awful food that harm consumers' health, and that is true. But since 1975, we have data that, according to this act, McDonald's developed themselves a clear campaign and diet programs and healthy programs that educated consumers to get spurred upon their health.
And this shows that the company is doing their own efforts, and they would not like to be affected by the other groups, because they are even now using a large amount of money for campaigning to increase their brand image, and they would not need to be penalized by the other groups because they are self-regulating themselves. And in most fast food chains, they are showing the calorie labeling to show how much to eat, and this is showing the customers to eat the right amount of calories to not be fat, because, as I said, it is not the amount of fat in the small product, but how much these consumers who just eat them and eat them and eat them, and they become fat. So according to this, they shouldn't be penalized.
You mentioned that the McDonald's are developing themselves from 1975 and showing a graph, and also teaching giving education to students that these are harmful. But how can we ensure that they are doing these things? Nobody would knew this if there was not a video on the internet's website that chicken nuggets are actually made of organs, bones, and carcasses. And furthermore, there is a research that proved that the food industry are making fool of their customers. There was a research held by Dr. Paul Kenny in the Scripps Laboratory in America. He conducted an experiment about instant foods with rats. He discovered that when given the instant foods for rats who were given instant foods for their meals for some time, they tend to eat instant food even if they had an electrical shock on their legs. This is because this experiment can be explained that dopamine 2 receptor, which induce pleasant sensation to our body, is overly stimulated by eating instant foods. Because our body tries to adjust to these changes, they slowly reduce the amount of dopamine produced. And therefore, this reduction caused people to be addicted to instant foods because they have to constantly eat the foods in order to feel the pleasure they have felt before.
Could the delegate summary it into 1 or 2 sentences?
What I'm talking is that because these instant foods created by these major companies triggers the consumers to be addictive to certain foods because they have a certain effect on our brain.
And I want to make a rebuttal point to the statement that you just mentioned, not our team, but other team. The one in the opposite side had mentioned that company labels the right amount of calories in order for people to be aware of the calorie and blah blah blah, but they don't provide this inadequate information about the ingredients of a certain product. Look at chicken nuggets served by McDonald's. It's actually a mix. The chicken nugget itself is actually a mixture of the chicken skins, and the organs. So, but nobody in the McDonald's or the employers don't really mention about that stuff. It's not the food industry. The current food industry is not providing the right information. So that's my point.
Okay, so Team 8, sorry, before it gets too jumbled up, Team 8, would you like to make a rebuttal to the point that they made about the chemicals?
About the chemicals, yes, before the 1975, which was the point of the tipping point of the McDonald's lawsuit. After that, it has been changing and changing and changing. And afterward, and this might be promoted. McDonald's since the delegates know about the chicken nuggets ingredients, and McDonald's actually said there was some of that. They are promoting themselves to get a more better chicken nuggets, which is actually chicken.
And let me add and finish this conversation. Although these fast foods hard deep interest and efforts, if consumers pick fast foods, there's no one to say that it's wrong because it's their right to choose the food, and it is scientifically proven that consumers and people from all over the world are more prone to, and by instinct, they are more prone to choose food that contains more sugar. So we would like to deny more detailed information about how much those fast foods are harmful. Yes, thank you.
What you have mentioned is that there are customers still eating McNuggets even though they know the ingredients of the product. However, I believe that it is only a few, and to satisfy few, and it is action that satisfies few and harms the health of the majority. Because there are certain people who don't even know that McNuggets are made of chicken skins or organs, we should, penalize these products so that no one could be harmed from this product.
Can we move on to the next?
Okay, yes, we do need to kind of wrap it up. So if either teams want to mention really quick points before moving on to conclusion, you may do so, but you have to limit to 30 seconds.
Okay, so the second point we wanted to mention is that there are many evidences proven that the food industry has influenced our health in a negative way. Such diseases like type 2 diabetes, obesity, high blood pressures, or E. coli, of which 1/4 of the entire American citizens, like I said earlier, is suffering from, have been found to be affected by foods that are obviously produced by current food industry. A 2-year-old child, this is a case, 2-year-old child died in Seattle, US, from eating contaminated meat served by a restaurant called Jack in the Box. And the food industry is making enormous amount of profit by ruining health of millions, and which should be considered unforgivable. Thus, we support the statement that food industry is needed to be penalized.
Also, this event will. Oh yeah.
Wait. Yes, but do you know why obesity is become? It is human's instinct. In the ancient society, there is no food to eat. For example, Australopithecus, they didn't eat enough food. So humans' evolution is processing, containing more fats. So it is a human's instinct. So the reason why obesity is becoming is we contain too much fat. So we control our mind and to gain the fat, average fat. So
like what you are mentioning, like do you mention that like it is a matter of heredity? Like because the humans have been like fat for some times. Like if our parents are fat, like the children tend to be fat also. I mean, then we can make a rebuttal that it is because of like companies that who promote.
Thank you. But we do have to move on. We have to conclude. So both teams, please prepare your conclusive statement.
Our team believes that the food industry should be penalized for promoting unhealthy habits and be held responsible for improving the quality and awareness of food products. To begin with, companies have been making a fool of customers by providing inadequate information about the ingredients of certain products. For example, we showed a picture of the chicken nuggets in McDonald's. Even if McDonald's does those things, they just mark the ingredients of nuggets as chicken meat. Moreover, there are many victims of unhealthy foods, and this proves that the food industry has influenced our health negatively. 2/3 of the US children are now obese, which leads them to get serious diseases such as strokes and cardiac infarction. Lastly, it has been proved that the food industry puts certain chemical substances inside its products in order to make their products strongly addictive and therefore make the customers buy the products continuously. Therefore, our team supports to the topic. Thank you.
Okay, so far the past conversation has led us to get well-rounded information about whether the food industry should be punished or not. And thus, we reached to the conclusion that the food industry is totally innocent. Properly labeling, the industry labels a product low fat because the product is low in fat. It doesn't mean to be low sugar to be low fat. The industry has a separate label for low sugar. Also, being low fat doesn't mean that you don't get fat. It is the amount of consumption which industries cannot control. Since the products have passed the government test, there is no reason for criticism. The biggest portion cannot be criticized because the increase in the average amount of consumption of people has affected the enlargement. The demand of reinforcement in finance and service is also another no, because it is basically not following the basic rule of industry, profitability. To sum up, we should not blame the poor food industries.
Let me emphasize just one more point before finishing our conversation. The world knows that fast food is harmful to the people. However, people should know that despite the fast food companies, those deep interests and efforts, if those consumers take a chance to choose those fast foods, we cannot say that it is a wrong choice because it's their right. So what I want to say is that it cannot be done if the consumers are the one that's going to choose our fast food. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, both teams. Good job. Way to go.